ahead again.
Eggs and franks for breakfast.
Eggs and franks. You good, Thorne? And what you had for lunch? Had lunch yet?
No lunch.
What you plan having for dinner?
Nothing.
Oh, no, that's not good.
You good, Thorne? You was good, Dave? Thorne, huh?
Nothing for dinner.
All right, you good? This one here?
This is the camera to.
This morning,
Yeah, for breakfast.
eggs and beans.
Eggs and bits.
Beans. Sauce as usual.
I'll bring more water, Ron. Run. Bring more water, cause. Just pull out your water.
She's hiding me dinner.
Look at people.
Peter, go again for me, please.
Hello, I am Peter Thorne. Huh? I'm out to sync. Oh. I'm honored to be here. I'm hosting the anti-violence panel discussion series. How's that? Hello, I am Peter Thorne. Welcome to this, the fourth in a five-part live panel discussion series on anti-violence, right here on CBC TV 8, brought to you with the compliments of the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment in association with CBC. It's also shown on YouTube at the Division of Youth Affairs and on Facebook. The hour-long program has been discussing a series of 5 short films, one every week, which were first premiered at the Olympus Theatres on November 8th, 2022, as part of the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment's Anti-Violence Initiative. How is that? I have some very esteemed and honored guests flown in from all parts of the world. Yeah, the first person on my right is Mr. Troy Hamblin. He's Director of Empower Youth International. Troy? All right, a pleasure to be here. Next to Troy is Shaquani Hunte. She's an executive member of the Barbados Youth Development Council. Shaquani, you're back again.
Thanks for having me again.
You're welcome. A pleasure having you. And the first on anti-violence, Mr. John Dalaney, Barbados National Youth Parliament, and a member of the Barbados Youth Development Council.
Thanks for having me.
Are you related to Dalaney that used to be at the Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union?
What's your first name?
I I can't try. Winston Dalaney.
That was my uncle, yes.
Is your uncle?
Yes.
Oh, okay. He used to be chief operations officer.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's becoming him though? Because he's retired.
Yeah, became a pastor, Methodist, African Methodist Episcopal, but not doing the best health way, so retired from that as well.
Okay, give him my regards. Tell him Peter Thorne gave his regards.
Will do.
Thanks. He always looked like he was training in that direction, or has a pastor.
Yeah, yeah.
You want white race?
We're on standby. We're on
Hello, I am Peter Thorne, and welcome to the fourth in a 5-part live panel discussion series on anti-violence, right here on CBC TV 8, brought to you with the compliments of the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment in partnership with CBC, which you can also view on YouTube at the Division of Youth Affairs and on Facebook. This hour-long program has been discussing a series of 5 short films, one every week, which were first premiered at the Olympus Theatres on November 8, 2022, as part of the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment's Anti-Violence Initiative. The format consists of the showing of one short film each week, which will then be discussed by our esteemed panel before we invite you to call us and share your esteemed thoughts and perspectives about how to get rid of the scourge of the violence from our society. So far, the types of violence depicted in the short films have been domestic, gender, and psychological, with this week focusing on sexual violence. But before we view the film, let me now introduce you to our esteemed panel. On my right, I have Mr. Troy Hamblin, and he is the director of Empower Youth International. Troy, welcome to the program.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure. We also have back Shaquani Hunte. She's executive member of the Barbados Youth Development Council.
Thank you for having me back again today, Peter.
Pleasure having you. And the first timer to end the violence, Mr. John Dalaney. He's from the Barbados National Youth Parliament, and he's also a current member of the Barbados Youth Development Council.
For me?
A pleasure, John. We also have Ms. Hamblin. This will be Franz Hamblin Harewood, and she's here in the capacity as the Barbados Association of Professional Social Workers.
Okay, hi. Thanks for having me, Peter.
A pleasure having you. And we'll be back after the break.
Anti-violence is not just a catchphrase. It is a movement towards positive behavior change in our young and old. How do we accomplish this? Through empowering and educating everyone to make that conscious decision to end the violence. But what is violence? According to the World Health Organization, violence is the intentional use of physical force or power, threatened or actual, against oneself, another person, or against a group or a community. This action either results in or has a high likelihood of resulting in injury, death, psychological harm, maldevelopment, or deprivation. We all have seen the devastating effects violence can have. We cannot continue to let physical violence, sexual violence, domestic violence, or any type of violence run rampant in our nation. Violence benefits no one. Not me, not you, not our families, our communities, and definitely not our beautiful island Barbados. So let's all work together, join the movement, and end the violence. For more information on the End the Violence campaign, visit us on Instagram and Facebook at End the Violence. End the Violence campaign, an initiative of the Division of Youth Affairs in the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment.
Welcome back to the Anti-Violence live panel discussion program. And I'll now ask our panelists to tell us how they got involved in the Anti-Violence Initiative. Troy?
Yes, well, my first experience with anti-violence was when I attended the showing, the viewing. I was at that viewing, and I really thought it was interesting. And as a representative for Empower Youth International, where we interact with teens and young persons, I thought it would be interesting to get involved to learn more about what the ministry is doing and to be part of that initiative.
You seem to be having a varied career, though. You are a member of ICAB, you are a professional accountant, you are a mentor, you are a financial planner, offer financial advice. I think you do some counseling also. Tell us more.
Well, what I did, what I'm doing in my course and my training was, it all started from the outset when my wife co-founded Empower Youth International. During that process, I would assist her and assist the ministry with the financial information during that time. I was studying while I was pursuing my degrees and qualifications in accounting. So throughout that process, I also ventured and did a stint with insurance to get an understanding of insurance and how it relates to business. So, and then it also assists me in my career, in my volunteer service as well with the BYBT, because then I became a mentor with them, and that all the knowledge that I gained aided me in assisting in mentoring young people in that respect. So I was able to use the skills that I've developed over the years to mentor youth and teens within my program, as well as assisting other programs. And with my current job too with Sudina as well, I work with them on the project to help and promote resilience within the region. So I also provide support there.
Yes, and for those of you who are asking, yes, Troy and Franz are husband and wife team, but they are here in their capacity as professionals today. Okay, Shaquani, refresh us about your involvement again.
Well, I am directly involved. I sit on the BYDC committee as an executive member. Previously, I would have explained I do a lot of mentorship with young people in different forms of communities through different organizations. I would have explained previously how I came into interacting with persons who have gone through violence, both physical, mental, and how what I learned from that process and how I go about helping others navigate the process, or even recognizing when somebody needs help and giving them information on how they can get help and where they can get help.
Okay, and Mr. John Dalaney, how did you get involved?
I would have first heard about it sometime back, like you said, when it would have premiered. And probably like most young persons, you would have heard about it, seen it on social media. Never thought I would have gotten the chance to actually be talking about it a bit more. But through my involvement with BYDC, thankfully I have this opportunity that I can offer a bit more value to the conversation.
And you also are involved with the National Youth Parliament.
Yeah, so I would have joined them earlier this year.
Okay, and we have Franz, you're back again.
Yes.
Thanks
for helping. Thanks for inviting me again. Yes, my involvement in terms of youth from violence started because I had that passion to do something about what I was seeing in society, the rising crime rates, and then I was interacting a lot with young people who had been either victims of violence or who had experienced abuse, and I wanted to do something more about it. So I started my youth organization, Empower Youth International, and that gave me a head start in my career as a social worker. And over the years, I've worked with a lot of young people, vulnerable, marginalized, persons affected with violence. And so I am a change agent for ending the violence that we're currently seeing here in society.
Well said. Okay, we'll now be viewing the short film, Sexual Violence, No Peace, No Peace. Sit back, relax, enjoy.
Yeah. Yes. Angles. You gotta get the angles, bro. Yes. Right. So we right? Mm-hmm. I was like 6 minutes me shit all time. That's cute. Oh, that's cute. That's bomb. That's gonna look hot on Instagram. I'm telling you.
Like you need somebody.
That's the nice. Yeah, I guess not tonight. Yeah, if you do special to talk to me, huh? Make care.
I know, you get on here. I was late. I don't know if you're gonna leave me. Not late. I can't believe we're on sale. Tell me, joking.
Scary weekend on sale? Huh? It's just a little old talk with the sexy girls from the beach, man, huh? Ain't that serious? I don't act like when don't come down here for a little attention from the men. It's just a little dirty fun. What's up, tight? When the women left the parade when the assets on the beach, then when they just get vexed, when men approach one.
You know nothing about me. I was there checking my clothes when I heard y'all. This is y'all be here when girls don't take one on. So wanna get me red tired though. Honestly.
Shaquani, you can also. But you spoiling the fun. We done planned this here from ever since. You ain't come to the beach in a good world, huh? It's just a little talk. You see me touching them? Huh? The boy get touched, nothing happen. It's just a little talk, man. We's men, huh? We's men. Don't take the things so serious.
Y'all have been my friends for a very long time. Y'all know so little about me. This is how it all starts. No? Words and dirty looks. But y'all, it's carried much, much further. And it gets way, way worse.
All right, look. Shaq, I'm sorry for talking to girls. Be good, be good.
No. It's not good. These guys are telling me how sexy it was and how much I wanted it. 6 months ago, to be exact. That's why I don't come to the beach anymore. If it's strange how whenever you ask me, I said no. How to beg me to come today. And I respond to them. And I was by myself, washing the sand on my feet by the pipe. They came and touched me and calling me, telling me how I wanted it. I was so scared. I ran as fast as I could. But they laughed at me. That's why I was so pissed. See what y'all did. This is my body. My body. One's body is to be owned. And you respect that. Respect that. Look, I ain't going home. I don't play the game.
Shut. Sorry.
This is not how you behave in a civilized society. Zero tolerance on gun violence.
No more violence now.
Zero tolerance approach to gun violence in this country.
Violence now. Go to school to learn, don't go to fight. As you grow in life, you got to do things right. Help your friends.
Sure, but they use adding a little,
That's for me though. That's how I feel.
No, go watch it. Someone will be like,
but we don't know that we're walking like that. You would look at me and say, oh, but she walking like that. But
that's
that
means the girls that get raped. That's what it is.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
I just let you know.
Because she put a little pet and instead so.
But someone when I was saying, I check it. But as soon as when I pass on red, when I get the attention, what is wrong?
No.
I guess it's the type
of
person.
The type of woman it is.
Type of person, maybe.
Right.
Not like man. But if you have like any woman that got respect for herself, ain't gonna like carry herself a certain way so that she could get attention just like that.
Even them they just get problems too. I don't.
But we're here about the women being violated than men being violated.
Man, because if a man can say, big man, I don't walking on the road and this woman keep telling me, slapping me on my butt. See, you can hear it, boy, shut him up, boy. You can hear it?
Just because the numbers are different doesn't mean you support one over the other.
I'm not saying that men do not get violated, but as women, we feel like it happens more to us than you guys.
Because it's publicized.
Exactly.
So,
but the thing about it is it's a personal experience for us too. So even if the public put it out there like that, as a woman that I can't step out the house without a man saying something, it's like that's my experience, and that's every day, 24 hours, every second. every 5 minutes.
It's annoying.
It's annoying every time. You could be dressed like a nun.
Yes.
The
Why
man
can I not
can
compliment
visualize
you?
you and take
Why
off
can I
everything.
compliment you? Why can I not compliment you? Why can I not compliment you?
Compliment is
There's a difference between harassment and compliment.
But here it is.
Nice.
But here
In conclusion, we would just say, man, if you do feel uncomfortable, say something.
Speak up.
Don't
I'm
be
going to say
afraid.
this. In conclusion, sexual violence is an unwanted treatment. It mostly women is be attacked, but there's none over the other. Both women and men just be attacked, and it should be. I believe that it should be treated equally.
Agreed.
Agreed.
This is not how you behave in a civilized society. Zero tolerance on gun violence.
No more violence now.
Zero tolerance approach to gun violence in this country.
Go to school to learn, don't go to fight. As you grow in life, you got to do things right. Help your friends.
The Youth Support Hotline is here to provide you with the assistance that you need. It is a safe space for those who feel as though they have nowhere to turn and need assistance that may not be readily available. Our trained staff are available to provide you with any support that you may need, any time of day or night. Our lines are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This support takes the form of qualified psychiatrists and other key mental health and wellness bodies here in Barbados. You don't have to suffer in silence. Any challenge that you may be facing, big or small, we are here to support you. If you or someone you know needs support and are unsure about where to turn, call 539-HELP. That's 539-4357.
This message is brought to you by the Youth Support Hotline, Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment. Call 539-HELP. That's 539-4357.
Welcome back to the End Violence live panel discussion series where we just viewed a short film on sexual violence, No Peace, No Peace. I have to go to the ladies first. Franz and Shaquani, have you been at the beach and have had similar experiences?
You could be at church and have that experience. No, I'm being serious. It is not limited to a location, a venue. As I said in the video, it's not limited to what you're wearing. You could think you look your worst and somebody will still catcall you because that is what it is. Don't matter what you have on, don't matter what you're wearing, don't matter if because people say you're looking for it or you're putting it on, but that is not true. You could just be in a line at the grocery store. I've seen persons online talking about they're shopping for groceries and they had persons harassing them. They asked them to stop and they continue. So it's not only telling people that you're not interested or you prefer if they didn't speak to you that way. Sometimes people do not recognize that that is a type of harassment and it makes people feel uncomfortable, just like how it was displayed in the video. Even though they saw it from their side as they're just speaking, it's just words. For them, it didn't mean anything more than words in their minds, but for us, it was more serious because it can escalate.
Franz, Hamblin here.
Yes, I have to agree with my colleague here. It's really true. I mean, as a woman, I kind of anticipate the comments, regardless of what I'm wearing, where it is, and you kind of anticipate it. It's like become normalized, and because we have normalized it so much that we no longer, I'm not sure if society recognizes that it's bordering on sexual harassment or what sexual violence is, which is unwanted sexual comments. It includes that. And I don't think that we educate our young people enough or educate society enough that sexual violence also includes some form of unwanted sexual comments. And as a woman, yeah, I anticipate it. And a ring doesn't matter because I'm not wearing my ring today, but a ring doesn't matter either. So yeah, I experience it, and I just think that part of the issue is, one, we've normalized it culturally, and two, we haven't educated our youth and other people about what sexual violence really is.
I want to hear the men now, John and Troy, because the catcalls and whistles seem to be almost, as I said, normalized within the culture, and they make women feel uncomfortable, objectified. And these are indeed forms of sexual violence. You had a situation here where a lady that was on the Welcome Stamp program, she came and she left and she publicized it because even though she had been pre-warned, she could not take the cat calls, the whistles, she said, every time she stepped out of her apartment. Your comments?
I think one thing that, again, I like, although the video is highlighting it negatively, one thing that I liked that the video highlighted was the guy's perspective and how narrow it was in that they were thinking kind of themselves. When you think of sex, especially among the other kinds of violence that we'll be discussing, that is one where the activity in itself, sexual stuff, is between two people. But most times when you have the catcalling, when you have the touching and stuff like that, the person is kind of only thinking of themselves. And I think that highlights the perspective of a lot of the guys that would do those catcalling, that would engage in that kind of sexual violence, that they're not looking at, you know, how can I involve her in a way in the experience, or they might not even just be thinking about her. They might be thinking of themselves and how they can get a means to an end. The guys even show that where one, the guys asked, you know, am I going to get a piece of that tonight? Like, again, thinking of them, of their own needs. I think that's one of the key things to highlight, especially in our education of guys, that this activity is not just something that you do just to de-stress or just to get something off, but it's supposed to be an act between two people, and both people have to be comfortable. Both people have to want it. Can't be one person wants and the other person just providing it as if they're obligated, kind of thing. Because then persons get entitled, then they start to think, okay, I can make a little comment and get away with it. I can get a little touch and get away with it. So I think definitely in our education, we need to ensure that persons don't see it just as, I have a need, I have a want, there's a means to get it.
Okay. John Dalaney, your thoughts, story on it?
Yes. I think that men have been socialized that way. I come from the community where I see it happening, and then it becomes a norm. But the thing to highlight to the men, and in this case, and we try to do it in EVA, is that we try to teach them positive ways of looking at the young ladies, positive ways of looking at themselves, and not only thinking about themselves, like John said, but looking at how your words and what you say or what you do can impact the other persons around you. And it has been normalized because there haven't been a lot of speaking out. Even though the lady would speak out to the situation, some people see it as not a problem. So a lot more education needs to be done about it, and not only looking at highlighting the negative, but now what you can do right about this. What is the right way to approach someone? What are the signs that if someone is showing interest in you, if the lady isn't showing interest in you? Because some men just assume that every person that passes and they look a certain way, they're showing an interest in them. But I think that the education needs to start there as well, in terms of what are the positive signs and what are the negative things that they're doing. So that is my thought on it, that a lot more learning education needs to be done.
Yeah, and in the film, the young lady seems to have experienced it before, because she said she hadn't been to the beach for 6 months.
Yes.
This means that
I like it.
You need a widespread public education campaign to deal with this.
Definitely.
And the impact of sexual violence, I don't think that people understand how pervasive it is, because like she said, she wasn't able to go to the beach, so it stops you from socializing, the psychological impact, depression, anxiety, suicide. We look at the impact of women not going out there to work. So it can affect you in terms of your finances as well, because there's a certain level of shame that comes along with sexual violence that people don't talk about. But because there's a shame and embarrassment, women don't want to vocalize much, so they don't want to go to work. They may not want to socialize with friends, so there's isolation to it. So that's one of the things that comes along with sexual violence, that shame, and we stigmatize it a lot. So people don't want to, it's a small society, people don't want to come forward, may not want to report it because of the way that is seen in society. So it's a lot of shame that is attached to it as well.
Interesting. While you were there making your comment along with Shaquani and the other panelists, I was reflecting back on my days, student days, when I was at Mona, and the ladies would stay on hall, and at nights they would catcall the guys, and similarly the guys would catcall the ladies. But you know, the guys never used to make any noise about it. You know, it's interesting. I don't know if the men don't complain about it, but it's sexual violence affects both men and women.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess the guy's just happy to get some attention. Yeah, and I think that, again, it highlights the way that we as guys think about it, our perspective. Some of us would be able to see above that, but others, they still hold on to that need of, you know, if I feel like I want sexual attention, I think that's what the female want. So that's what they do. And I like the way that the video tackled it and the way that the video put it together. 'Cause even some of the comments by the guys highlight those underlying issues. And maybe as we seek to have a campaign and have that mass education on top, we need not forget to also tackle it from the bottom in those personal discussions, even like at the end where they were just talking casually. Because you saw how even after the girl was talking about how disgusting it was, one of the guys was like, we just men, and dap up the other one. And that's something I think maybe I have even fallen into, not necessarily doing it, but when I see it being done, I don't denounce it as much. Where, let's say, like around sports, you're the cricket team, and you know, one or two guys say a little something, and you might not be the most comfortable with it, but you don't say anything. I think certainly females talking up about it, yeah, is they're gonna get the message across, especially if it's a female that's close to you, you're gonna listen to them. But at the end of the day, it's a man-to-man thing. And as men, we need to be able and willing to denounce it, even if we end up being the black sheep in the group, even if, you know, everybody else around is doing it, and we're seeing like the weirdo because we're not doing it. Definitely does, again, that approach, that informal, personal approach is probably what may be required.
We agree that sexual violence affects every community, affects all genders, ages, etc.
As long as you have sexual body parts, it
I
affects
don't
you.
think it has anything to do with body parts, because sometimes people don't know based on how you're dressed. Because I could be dressed with not close-fitting clothes and people will call at you. Men, women, it doesn't matter. It's not limited to a gender. Sometimes people find themselves in positions where they say things that they shouldn't say, that should be kept on the inside. I think we need to hold people more accountable for their words and actions. And then if you find yourself in a position like that, call them out. Let them know that that is not the way to do it. Even if it was interesting in speaking to you, that is not the way I want to be approached. Because we're talking about in person. People do this online. People actually go into your DMs and message you and harass you in your DMs to speak to you. And when you don't respond, or if you answer back, you tell them you're not interested, you will get cursed, you will get harassed more.
The person that was just complimenting
becomes it's like a switch has flipped in their brain, and you are no longer beautiful, you are no longer amazing, just because you have turned down their advances. And because social media has given person this platform to hide away and put themselves like at top of the world, they believe that they can do this. And when people call them out, they feel offended, like we're attacking them. Because even recently, I saw somebody post something like that, where a person reached out to a person in DMs, they had to speak to them about it, and then they lashed out at them, and the person blasted them, basically sharing all their information about this person is doing this. I can tell you there are hundreds of persons in my DMs where I do not respond, because if you ever have to take time on my day to respond to all these messages, you will find that you have this negativity coming into your life trying to handle this, where a person just needs to be accountable for their actions. Why should I have to take time out of my day to tell you that you can't speak to people like this? You have to know that this cannot be the norm. Would you want me to speak to you in that manner? To make you feel uncomfortable? Because think about if it happens in the workplace. It may be easy to avoid a person online, but think about you're at work. You can't avoid this person because they may be your boss. You're now in an uncomfortable position because you don't know how to report this. You don't know how to turn down the advances because some people have turned down advances and lost their job. So how do you speak to a person who is your superior and call them out and tell them, well, I don't want to be spoken to in this manner. I think you need to check your behavior, but also you need to be mindful again, this person is your boss. How do you handle the situation? Even if I read a scenario online where a person went to the HR manager and the person said, well, you know he's like that. So even though she went to the person who was supposed to resolve this scenario, they did not. They seemed to be accustomed to his behavior and allowed this to happen to multiple staff members that were females.
And you know, it's a difference in terms of the societies because in England and the United States, this is not allowed.
No. You see, we allow this to escalate to this manner, and they know we're seeing it as a norm. It's just a call. It's just a seat. We just see it as a norm. We don't see that something is wrong with it. You can imagine somebody going overseas with this behavior coming from the Caribbean. Probably within the first week of work. They can get at least 2 letters because that is not the norm over there. And if they can change when they go over there, why can't they change here? What's different?
I think what has happened is even like how the gender stereotypes, the gender positioning. I think also like the impact of slavery and how, you know, back then the woman was seen as the husband's property. And those type of like mindsets have been passed down. And even so, the unequal power relations between women and men in families, I think that added to it. And now like, you know, women are like seen as, you know, objects. So all throughout that, and we still haven't dealt with the gender inequality that's happening in society. We haven't dealt with it. We haven't address the numerous cases of child abuse and what's happening on that level. We haven't addressed it. So now it has reached to this boiling point and we're saying, we now have a problem, but it has escalated throughout. We haven't addressed those negative gender stereotypes in families. We haven't have an honest conversation about why it is happening or how we are going to fully fix the problem. So I think a lot has to do with those gender stereotypes and the unequal power relations and relationships.
Okay, we're going to take a short break and we'll be back in just a moment.
Is when I feel lost and directionless, placed under immense pressure to decide what my future will be and what my success will look like.
These emotions aren't unique to me. Many of us suffer with these feelings. It is, however, important that we reach out, talk to someone.
Make connections. Asking for help doesn't make you weak. It's one of the bravest and hardest things you'll ever have to do.
We are not alone.
We're stronger than we think.
This message is brought to you by the Youth Support Hotline, Ministry of Youth, Sports, and Community Empowerment. Call 539-HELP. That's 539-4357.
Balance live panel discussion series. And remember, we want your input, so you can call us at 228-5562. We'll be only too happy to welcome your calls. That's 228-5562. You know, in this discussion, it dawned on me that sexual violence is preventable. Do you believe that if we had to really take some initiatives and empower community members at multiple levels across the society, we can wrestle this problem down to the ground?
Yes, I think that through education, like programs like what we're doing here now, and actually going into the community and persons being held accountable from the family level, in the community, in the schools, in the workplaces, if we begin to get serious and more stricter in terms of highlighting this and addressing the issue, then you will see a change in it. Persons wouldn't feel so easily to go out and to say certain things and do certain things because they know that there are consequences behind their actions. So as she was saying, I agree that if we make it more that whatever you do, you're being held accountable for it, then I think that this could change it. Also, I also think that there needs to be the positive side as well. How do you, what's the proper way to address a person? What's the right thing to do? Because sometimes we focus on the wrong things only, and then that only causes people to focus on the wrong as well. But I believe that a campaign should involve what is the wrong thing, but also what is the positive or the right way of addressing someone, or the right way of doing things, because they seem not to, or they pretend not to know it. But if you reinforce that as well, then they don't have an excuse.
John, I see you're not in there in agreement.
Yeah. It definitely requires, like Troy said, the positive and the negative. The first shot I think that we see in the video, or the second one after we see the guys warming up, we see the girls taking the photos. And well, the females here could say, well, girls like to take photos, they like to take videos, especially when, you know, you buy a new bathing suit, or you buy a new dress, you buy a new pants, skirt, so whatever it is, you want to look good, and with social media, you know, you want to post it. But what you don't want are those kind of comments. And I think with all of us operating not just in the physical space, but in the online space, we definitely have to find a way to teach persons how to respect the way that persons show themselves, respect the way that persons put themselves out there, and understand the kind of compliments and understand the kind of things that they want. Again, nobody wants to buy something nice, look good, and you never hear anything about it, even if it's like a friend telling you something. But what you don't want is the catcalling, the over-sexualization, that kind of thing. So I think once we find a way to educate and get that balance, teach persons how to discern, inevitably there will be a few times when persons might slip up, they might go a little too far, but we won't see it to the extent that it is now. And in those cases, there'll be more a learning curve than an intentionally, I'm going to go all the way that far.
For years now in Barbados, we've had the Samaritans dealing with this. I know the Ministry have just introduced a helpline and a hotline dealing with suicides, and I guess things like this will come to the fore. Do you believe other organizations need to be involved?
Most definitely. There's greater sensitization and we need greater collaborative efforts among all agencies, but not just governmental agencies, NGOs who are on the ground as well. I believe that collaborative effort can definitely help in terms of sensitizing persons towards sexual violence, how to handle it, what are the indicators, the effects of it. I definitely think that even in schools, we should be teaching this, because I'm seeing a number of young people that are affected. So we need to start on the ground level, and maybe even in primary school level, and not just secondary. So we definitely need a holistic approach to tackling it. In terms of laws and legislations, we need to be more, when it comes to like sexual violence, sexual abuse, I believe that the cases probably need to be more handled quicker than what we're seeing now. So we need to address it legally, because if people think that the justice system is taking too long, I could get away with it. This is taking long. I could be out here in society, I could do my thing, because justice is seen as taking too long. So we definitely have to go on the policy, legislative level, but we also have to go down to the community level. So it's definitely a collaborative approach that's needed. Yeah.
Remember, you can call us at 228-5562, and we'll be only too happy to welcome your calls. We have seen with the advent of social media, sexual photos or videos being introduced and being posted online without people's consent. And you have the Computer Misuse Act to try to address that. But despite that, you still see these things happening. This must be a cause of a special concern.
Because justice has taken too long. People will take it for granted, and I mean, we definitely have to address it legislatively, looking at how our justice system and cases are being backed up. We definitely need to address it at that level so that people can see, okay, there are consequences, but we also need to do an education, because people post things online and they think, well, it's just posting. We could post on Instagram, everything. But on that level, a lot of young people don't recognize it's against the law. Because I talk to some of them, sometimes they don't recognize, like, oh, to post a picture like this is actually could break the law. And so we need to sensitize our young people, but we also need to sensitize the greater public, the parents, because sometimes the parents don't know what their kids are doing online. And it's true, because I talk to a lot of them and they don't monitor as closely. So we also have to do sensitization at that level as well.
Okay, we are going to take a short break and we'll be back in just a moment.
The Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment's mentorship program, Project Protege, is once again opening the call for suitable mentors and mentees. The program aims to provide youth with positive role models and support, create a safe space where youth can find encouragement and guidance, connect youth with individuals who can help when they are facing everyday challenges. Do you know a young person between 12 and 17 who could benefit from targeted guidance? Are you a responsible, caring and committed individual over the age of 21? Then Project Protege may be the right fit for you. Consider joining us and become a partner in the positive development of youth here in Barbados. If you or someone you know is interested in joining Project Protege as a mentor or mentee, please contact the ministry at 535-3835 or send an email to ydp@barbados.gov.bb. That's 535-3835 or email ydp@barbados.gov.bb.
Welcome back to the Anti-Violence live panel discussion series. And remember, you can call us at 228-5562. And I believe we do have our first caller for the afternoon. Okay, we will have that call shortly. Would you agree that sexual violence is a serious public health problem that really profoundly affects lifelong health, opportunity, and well-being?
Well, I see that it has an impact, like Franz mentioned earlier. It can cause a person to go inwards. And one thing that came out in the video is that it was 6 months after she addressed her concerns. So I think that if you have situations where issues like this can be addressed and discussed, and young persons, like from our ministry, does we try to create a safe place so that they can discuss things that are happening, not only with us, but as they appear with other young people, then you can get the communication going and have that discussion so that they can get advice. So I believe, yes, that promoting and campaigning and making people aware, young and old, so that when the communication begins to talk, when the person finally speaks out about what is happening to them, that the person who they're talking with will be able to either refer them to someone or someplace that they can get help, or be able to provide some advice themselves.
Okay, I believe we do have our first caller now on the line.
Hi, good night.
Hi, good night.
Good evening.
Good night.
Good night.
I would like to disagree with the lady that said that discrimination and slavery is about men dominating women. This is the 21st century. Women have the right to say no. And they've had the right to say no for the last 10 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your call. Franz, I believe she made a comment in reference to some comments that you made.
Yes, because even in the video, we see that they were dressed suitable to be for the beach. But just because a person may dress a bit revealing, does it mean that we are giving people the right, whether it's male or female, to harass that person? We can't. No, I don't. I think that would be crossing the line. So no matter if the person is dressed in a revealing top, it doesn't give a man or a woman the right to harass that individual. And society definitely have to look at the way that cultural norms are affecting behaviors and attitudes. I believe culturally, the normalization of sexual harassment and these issues has reached alarming levels. And so now we definitely have to see, how constructively we can address it. And one of the ways is looking at the unequal power relations, the impact of slavery and those type of mentalities on us as not just as a national, but also regionally, not only nationally, but regionally. The Caribbean region has been affected by those type of stereotypes, which I believe came from that dominance that occurred during slavery. So we definitely have to look at the impact of colonization on how we treat each other, the violence that we are seeing, the physical violence, how we treat each other, and also gender-based violence. So, yeah.
Do you believe the psychological impact of sexual violence lasts for a long time? In this case, the lady said it was 6 months, as you correctly said, with the beach, but it could last for a lifetime.
Long lifetime.
Yes.
Some people suffer with it for years because they would talk. They may think they may be over it. A scent could trigger them. A road could trigger them. A person could trigger them, because imagine somebody who attacked you was in jail and they got released. You just happened to see them on the road. You may freeze. What you thought you were over can just come back at all those emotions. So you're never really over it. That person is working every single day from the point of impact until maybe the end of their life, because they now have to become accustomed to the new norm of their life and the circumstances and how they handle it, how they handle new people, because a lot of victims blame themselves. So they're now thinking that, oh, maybe I shouldn't dress this way, maybe I shouldn't go here, maybe that road was too dark, maybe I didn't make it clear. So because most victims blame themselves, they now have to work out the logistics of how they're not to blame for this issue. And then they now have to work out, how do I prevent this from happening again? Because there's a statistic that says persons who are sexually assaulted once, usually it happens to them again. It's crazy, but it does. And it may not be anything that they would have done, but the option for that to happen is possible. So imagine it not happening to you once, but twice. How does a person handle that? And I find one is not clear where a lot of persons can get help, and then sometimes the help is not free. And then when they get the help, sometimes the help is not the best because they're in locations where the conversation is coming outside. And because it's personal and persons are really traumatized, they don't need the gossip surrounding the issue. So we need to create safe havens. We need to explain to persons where they can go, who can help them, and how this help should look like. We need to let them understand that because they're a victim, that doesn't mean that they have to go to the police and create a case, because a lot of persons don't want to press charges. You allow them to decide what steps they want to do. Give them the power to choose. And by giving them that power, giving them the tools to help themselves, it helps them retake control of their lives and navigating life after the accident.
I don't want to politicize the discussion, but you've seen high profile cases like this in the United States, where you saw President Trump, you saw Bill Cosby, I think you saw Sean Diddy Combs just recently. So, and some of these cases go back for decades.
You see something, say something. Because somebody has power or authority over you, that doesn't mean that they are right. They may just have money, but you have your voice. You have a platform. Keep saying it, keep speaking about it. If you want to go to the police, then do it. Don't let their position, their authority, being the president of a country, stop you from saying something, because that person's only one person. But you're also a person, and they have just as much rights as they think they have. You have even more rights because something happened to you. People sometimes put it in a way like, oh, maybe the person was an escort. Because you were an escort, you still have a right to say no. That doesn't mean because that was your job, you wanted it to go that particular way, because we've seen later down how person said they were beaten, their face was broken, their nose was broken. And we have to remember these things escalate because a person may have started off doing one type of abuse, they liked it, and they escalated to something way more violent. Why I was saying Barbados, we don't have a lot of escalations that lead to murder sometimes, but I remember a time we did have a couple cases where some men could not take no when the girlfriends left the relationship, and we had persons losing arms.
Losing their lives.
Losing their lives as well.
So imagine you broke up with your boyfriend, you want to get out of that scenario. They're stalking you at your workplace, they're stalking you at your home, at your church, and sometimes your family does not understand, or this is getting out of hand, or you can forgive them. People don't understand that sometimes when you recognize this behavior, you need to go. Forgiving them is not an option, and it sometimes can be dangerous. So because in the Caribbean and in Barbados, we accept a little what we would consider as roughness, maybe a tap, maybe shouting. Those are signs of escalation that can lead to something more serious. And because those signs are left untreated or unapproached, persons get more hurt. And that impact lasts really long.
I want to hear the men quickly on this.
Definitely. And I think it makes you hypersensitive to some other thing. You can almost imagine like a physical bruise where, you know, a simple brush of the wind that might have been nothing before, because your skin is exposed, now you experience it a bit more. You look at the media that we have, again, social media, which we're always on. Instagram reel that may have been nothing before, now it triggers something. You might watch a movie that may be PG, that may be 13 plus or 18 plus or whatever, that may have been nothing before. Now you're a bit more agitated by it. Even you saw with, again, in the video, the experience she had at the beach, she was just observing what the guys were doing. She wasn't even the one actually being catcalled, and you saw how that ticked her off. And I think it also highlights that kind of compound effect that it might have had. Because if, 6 months, and she might not have been fully healed from it, and she still gave a chance to come out to the beach and, play some volleyball with the guys, imagine now how long it might take her to come back to the beach. She might never come back. And you might see that compound effect to even some other things. She might never go to a party. She might never wear certain kinds of clothes. You saw that she didn't even have on the full bikini. She had on a jean shorts. She might not even put on the bikini. She might wear other stuff. And again, one of the things that, again, the video highlighted where the guys were saying, well, the girls are wearing that stuff. The girls are doing that stuff. They want the attention. I think that it limits the expression and the freedom that as females you might feel to wear certain things, or even as males that, being out with your shirt off and playing football with the boys, especially on the beach, might be a normal thing. If you start to get catcalled a lot, no, you can't even do that. And
it's true.
I think one of the things that wasn't necessarily highlighted in the video, but for guys even gets highlighted sometimes, is the opposite, where for the females it might be over-sexualization, like, yeah, you look good. For the guys, it starts to become almost the opposite, where if you have a certain body type, you don't look good. And so you get the negative attention where they tell you nobody going to want to sleep with you, no girls don't want you. And again, on both sides of the spectrum, you start to feel a lot less free in your own skin. You start to feel a lot less free to wear certain things or not wear certain things. Definitely on both sides, you have to ensure that when that little bruise comes up for persons, we give them time to heal. We give them that space, and we give them that safe space, as Shaquani spoke about, that doesn't agitate it again, because certainly that compound effect can last a lifetime.
Okay, that's all your thoughts. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with the Anti-Violence Initiative in just a moment.
Barbados, are you ready to celebrate the outstanding youth in our nation? It's time to honor those who make a real difference, those who are shaping our future. Get ready for the National Youth Awards. Save the date for the National Youth Awards, May 26, 2024 at the Frank Collymore Hall. But here's the best part. Nominations are now open. You can nominate those outstanding individuals who deserve to be recognized for their contributions. So how to nominate, you ask? Simply visit us at our Facebook page at Division of Youth Affairs and click on the link provided under the post section to access the nomination form. Alternatively, you can go to our Instagram page at DivYouth246 and click on the link provided in the bio. Once you have accessed the form, fill it out in its entirety and press submit. If you prefer a physical form, then select your preferred location from the list provided. You can find collection points listed on our social media pages. The nomination deadline is May 13th, 2024. So spread the word to everyone you know, your friends, family, neighbors, and workmates. Let's make this year's National Youth Awards the biggest and brightest celebration ever. Nominate now to be a part of celebrating excellence in our youth.
Welcome back to the End the Violence live panel discussion series. Troy, you were about to make a point before the break.
Yeah, I was thinking about what he was saying and the effects on the men. I know that sometimes it goes towards bullying or how other guys relate to other persons. Like, I know that there are certain cases or situations where, like he said, if you try to speak out against her, fellas will call you a girl, or you and you don't feel the same way, or you don't talk the same way, or you don't do the same things. And what was said and encouraged the men is that yes, you may be around persons that say and that do those things, but if you realize that these things are becoming a trend, then I think that you really need to examine your friends. You really need to examine who you hang with, who you're around, because sometimes you may not be able to influence the persons in a positive way. And in some cases, when you're faced with these types of situations, you may need to exit yourself or do less, because you know that in hanging out with them, it could also place you in an area where people view you negatively as well, because people, and I think that a lot isn't being done like that, that we kind of like champion the men or champion people who do these things instead of like condemning the behavior and condemning these things or telling them that no, this isn't the way to go, this isn't what you need to do, but you know, it's not the popular thing to do. And I think that we really need to change our society thinking. While I was talking to, I remember a situation where I heard a lady say that, you know, a man shows his love for you when he can't love you if he doesn't hit you or something. That kind of talk and that same noise and thinking was going around too in the neighborhood and certain things. So this was also negative noise and negative practices that need to be totally out and removed.
But you know, if you take that equation, the more you get beaten, the more you love.
That is what people were thinking and saying and norming, but this is the type of love you want. Right? So, you know, this is like people, and some people stay because they believe some women, some men do it because they believe that this is their truth, but it isn't really true. It isn't really the truth, or it isn't really right. So we need to really educate, we need to really change, have that sit down. I know those community sit downs with parents and families will sit down and talk and discuss these things is really needed more.
Well, would you believe it? We haven't even discussed an issue like, even though it's taboo, incest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, time is against us and upon us. So I'm going to ask each of you to give us a 20-25-second wrap-up about sexual violence and the film that you viewed, No Peace, No Peace.
Yeah, I just would like to say that to parents also, you have a part to play in how you socialize your children, the way that you are raising them. So one of the key things to do is to understand that sexual violence is wrong, understand what it is. I mean, we live in the age of social media. We had a conversation before camera, and it was all about, you know, if you need information, that you research it, you Google it, you find out what sexual violence is, and educate yourself. The more educated you are on the issue, the better it is. You know, you're better equipped to addressing it. So I would say to those who are watching, understand what sexual violence is, begin to teach your children. My mom was teaching me from like primary school what to look for. And so I just want to encourage parents to keep educating yourself, educate your children, so that they can be the change that we want to see in society.
Okay, the final thoughts here of Mrs. Franz Haywood Hamblin of the Barbados Association of Professional Social Workers. Your final thoughts, Mr. John Dalaney of the Barbados National Youth Parliament.
I think definitely as we persons in different youth organizations seek to handle it at that macro level, for everybody watching, for us as panelists, even the other persons in the room, we also have to handle it at that micro level in that personal interaction. And so it could be a friend, it could be a brother, it could be a sister, it could be a stranger. If we see it, we kind of have to have that boldness and that bravery to speak up about it. Again, even if we see the black sheep sometimes in the group.
Your final thoughts, Shaquani Hunte, Executive Member, Barbados Youth Development Council.
What I would say is to remind persons that your voice have meaning, and just because you feel that you are not the person in power in the situation, you do have power, and by not saying something, it will impact and have a more long-lasting effect. So you can say something to help you and to help others.
Your final thoughts, Troy Hamblin of Empower Youth International.
Yes, like the others, I agree that by saying something, you make a change, you make a difference. And in this video, because she said something, it had an impact on the men, the boys who are there, understanding the impact I had on them. So I say follow to victims, say something, because it could have an impact on the abuser as well, and they would understand that this thing is not right. So speak out.
Okay, this week you were viewing the fourth in a 5-part live panel discussion series on anti-violence right here on CBC TV 8, brought to you with the compliments of the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment in partnership with CBC. We reviewed a short film on sexual violence, No Peace, No Peace. Next week, you'll be viewing another short film on physical violence as we continue our anti-violence panel discussion series right here on TV8 and on YouTube at the Division of Youth Affairs and on Facebook. I'd like to thank our panel, and I'll also like to thank you for joining us, and I'll invite you to join us again next Saturday at 4 p.m. for another program of anti-violence.